Our last Chicago Bears talk as the Browns went to 9-5. Peek behind the blinders a little bit as the Houston Texans are coming up on Sunday. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and ELOB. Let's go, Browns. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. We are joined today by the OBR's Pete Smith. I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. And if you're not part of the everyday crowd by now, we'll get on the bus, Gus, and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We're going to get to a bunch here today. Again, Transition Tuesday. We bring in Pete Smith from the OBR. We're going to close out Chicago Bear Week. We are going to start to peek into the blinders a little bit. It's a little difficult right now with Houston. Obviously, a lot of injuries going on down there. Something we want to get to in segment 3 that I saw Pete talking about on social media, which makes a ton of sense. But Pete, with Joe Flacco right now, and for me and you, look, we did a lot of conversations over the years. And, as much as we are pro Kevin Stefanski, there is one thing that has never really been able to be consistently unraveled within his offense. At times you saw glimpses of it with Baker Mayfield, but you're starting to see it with Joe Flacco. Obviously, this is something that trends a little better and works a little better for the veteran. Pete, it is the vertical passing game. To think that the Cleveland Browns could get 212 passing yards in one quarter, hell, there's been games where we'd pray the team could get to 212 passing yards in the entire game, let alone 212 yards in a fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, they did have some vertical elements with Deshaun Watson. He certainly threw the ball down the field more, and it helped quite a bit. The spacing was way better with Deshaun Watson as opposed to PJ Walker and what we've seen from DTR. But Flacco certainly is not afraid to throw it, not always for the best. But the thing of it is, by merely constantly throwing the ball downfield, even on some of his throwaways, or just throwing it over everybody, he constantly puts that in the back of your mind that you have to be aware of that. You have to be ready for it. And he can still throw the hell out of the ball. So it gives you options. It gives you some opportunities. And then, you talked about the 212 yards. Two of those, the two placed in Njoku, which counted for 66 yards or whatever, were underneath passes created by sending other guys down the field. Like the best play you saw, one of the plays that stood out to me in that game was, obviously everybody was thrilled, including myself, to see Marquise Goodwin get to make the big play. Mm-hmm. But they come back on the final drive, and Marquise Goodwin is split out, in the slot on the right. He goes vertical right up the seam. He takes the corner and safety out. Njoku does, essentially takes up the space. Marquise Goodwin clears it out. Nobody widens with Njoku. So he's just wide open there. And so Marquise Goodwin has effectively blocked two guys by just running really, really fast. And then Njoku's able to run up the field for 31 yards. The other one, Njoku runs a drag route because everybody's cleared out. Cooper's running a post. Njoku recognizes where the space is. Flacco recognizes where the space is. He throws it up to exactly where he needs to go. And again, it's just run after catch. So being able to do that, being effective in forcing the defense to cover so much ground gives you spacing, and spacing is the key to unlocking so much of the offense, as opposed to other games where we've seen where it looked like even when the Browns were on their own 20, it looked like they were in the red zone because everybody's within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, and they're sitting there waiting to jump down, pounce on anything that looks like it'd be a short pass. And everything looks like it's really difficult. So it's certainly nice to see. It certainly opens things up. And for an offense that has so many other things going against it, it's been critical to giving them success and the ability to make some of these plays.
And, look, chunk plays, and you look at it, through 4 receivers, Cooper, Njoku, Tillman, Goodwin. There was 300 yards right off the bat. And for second week in a row, you were able to incorporate one of the other playmakers. Last week, obviously, it was David Bell, 41 yards, big touchdown for David. The 53-yard completion of Marquise Goodwin on Sunday. And you have a week where Elijah Moore doesn't do as much, but also the caveat to that, and the getting away from it is it could be, hey, Elijah Moore's been kind of integral for this offense the last couple of weeks. Certainly got to keep our eyes on him and understanding that. And okay, well, we'll just, we'll use other guys. We'll work with other guys. And I think for the short time Joe has been here, look, he's had big plays with Elijah Moore. He's had big plays with Cedric Tillman. He's had big plays, of course, with Goodwin. He's had big plays, of course, with Coop, with Njoku. It's cooking really well for a guy that's only been starting for this team for 3 weeks.
Yeah, some of that I credit to just being intelligent. Like, he's really smart. He understands leverages and certain things. And you've seen him and Njoku develop a really nice connection where both guys sort of know where the other guy's going to be quickly, which is remarkable. But like just the play I talked about, Njoku was smart. Flacco was smart to make that play. That touchdown was another situation where Flacco makes an unbelievable throw. But part of that is because he and Njoku both realize where they can create some leverage and some space that allows them to make a great play. They are just outsmarting the opponent. And like, in a lot of ways, watching the Bears, they resembled countless Browns teams I've watched over the years where the Browns just weren't ready for that moment. They hadn't been there before. And you saw some wide eyes and stuff like that. The Amari Cooper reception, you have the entire defense seemingly looking in the backfield as this play is going on. And granted, it's a perfect throw, and Amari Cooper with the awareness to go up the sideline. But, I can think of any number of games where the Browns get beat doing that exact same situation. And they've gotten smarter. Obviously, having experience matters, but like, they have become a savvy football team in addition to just having so much experience playing these games that go down to the wire that this becomes sort of like, this is normal for them in a insane, sick way that they almost crave these moments. But that's what made the difference. The Bears were not ready for the Browns at the end of the game, and frankly, in some ways, contributed to their own defeat.
And, look, and the way you phrase it is obviously perfectly. I mean, years ago, and even last year before, maybe not Amari Cooper, but the Browns player catches that ball and goes out of bounds. And you know what? It's 14-13. And I'm sorry, or it's 17, it's 17, and you're still on the wrong end of it if you're the Cleveland Browns. Or you see two defenders looking at each other like, I thought you were going to push him out of bounds. I thought you were going to push him out of bounds. Nobody pushed him out of bounds. And now we're screwed. That is definitely the way. It certainly would have worked in years past for the Cleveland Browns. But look, you play 60 minutes and you play every game with a whistle. You should be at least getting smarter. You should be getting more savvy, as he said. And it looks like it's, it's probably taking a physical toll, as we all know, on this team. There's no doubt about that. But, sometimes being in it for every second of 60 minutes is, there's a lot to be learned. And it looks like for the Browns, it's certainly going that way. Talking about a lot to be learned. Well, Browns had a bunch of guys that were going to see significant reps this past Sunday against Chicago Bears. And ironically enough, almost every single one of them stood out. We're going to continue on here. Your latest Locked On Browns, your host, Jeff Lloyd, joined by the OBR's Pete Smith. Stick around, kids. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on a 2 to 6 player stat projection, and you watch the winnings roll in. Want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each and every week. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. We'll have our PrizePicks Browns lineup for you later in the week. And obviously, looking pretty good here. And most of the time, just bet over on any Cleveland Browns player because it seems to be paying off. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Jeff Lloyd, we are joined by the OBR's Pete Smith. If you didn't catch it, actually just up a little while ago, and this is something we kind of highlighted yesterday, when we did, the Monday aftermath. And Pete, just real quick, this is probably a yes or no. I know everybody wants to talk about the Browns' defensive side of the ball, but I think the offensive line, whatever the Browns are doing on defense, yes, there's a lot of injuries there, but this offensive line, yes or no, it's probably the more difficult thing to navigate week to week.
Yes, but in part because they were down. I mean, I believe they were on their 13th, 12th,
third center took a snap, third guard, fifth tackle.
When the rookie came in at center for the one play he was there, that was either their 12th or 13th guy. It's really difficult to try to navigate that. I mean, they've seemingly focused a ton of their attention just on pass protection, where they're actually okay, even though the tackles are bad. But overall, like as a unit, they're doing okay. Run blocking is where they're just getting eaten up, and it's not helping that the tight ends aren't blocking particularly well either. But yeah, it's really difficult to just have that much turnover and that many things to go. But I mean, the argument is always that it's easier to hide turds on offense than defense. The other team is looking for the turd when they have the ball, as opposed to the offense when you get to sort of dictate in some ways. True. The Browns are at such a point now where there's no hiding some of these guys, and defenses, and Montez Sweat was a good example, was able to take advantage of that. And it's going to be a challenge when they play the Houston Texans with their ends. So it is becoming difficult. Hopefully they'll get a couple guys, hopefully Bitonio and Posick can come back. That would certainly help. The interior is obviously the most important aspect of this thing. They have been able to survive with that in pass protection. They've obviously struggled quite a bit more without those guys in the run game.
And it just, and look, that was one of the things about my biggest takeaway from Coach Stefanski yesterday. It was, we weren't sitting there like he was basically reading off eulogies from the injury report, which has been the most refreshing part of a Coach Steph Monday presser in a long time. But Pete, you go to the defense from Sunday and, starting Ronnie Hickman, starting DeAnthony Bell, a huge, significant uptick in snap count for Alex Wright. And, or a lot of people, Alex inside, outside. Look, this is what UAB did with him. And maybe it was a detriment because, maybe people didn't understand exactly where Alex's role was in the NFL. But losing a Maurice Hurst and having a guy like Alex Wright, and, who knows whether it's, Ogba's going to be able to come back. Who knows if they're going to kick the tires on a Justin Houston. But when they called the number of these guys to step in for the regulars on Sunday, it worked, and it worked pretty damn well.
Yeah, I attribute some of that to the fact that the Bears were a really bad matchup for what the Browns want to do defensively. Justin Fields loves to hold on the ball, so he invariably is going to get pressured. Now, the Browns deserve a ton of credit for what they were able to do. To your point, Alex Wright, after being basically thrown in the pool as a rookie because they were just so shorthanded.
What was shorthanded? He kind of just told you he didn't give a damn. He wasn't really going to do his job.
They had to. They were in a position where they could let Alex Wright find a niche, and he became that run stopping base end that could sort of spell Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett so they could be in on money downs and rush the passer. I mean, in a perfect world, Alex Wright becomes Zadarius Smith. That is that role, being able to play that inside-outside run stopping force that can then slide inside and be too quick for guys. I think what you forget, and Zadarius Smith, he and Myles Garrett are giant human beings. Alex Wright is a very young man who's basically built the same way. Now, obviously, he's not built quite like Myles Garrett, but he's just a giant human being, has the length, has quickness, and he's disruptive. Now, he's got a long way to go, but that was what they drafted. He was super raw. If he wasn't, he wasn't going to be around in the third round.
Exactly.
Like, you don't have that type of body type. Incidentally, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Zadarius Smith was picked in the third round.
I think it was later than that, but go ahead.
But, Cam Mitchell has become the kid is the guy you're always gives you something, a pleasant surprise on Sunday. That monster fourth down tackle that got to turn it over on downs. And if he doesn't make that tackle, I don't know where that goes. Like, I don't know if Justin Fields scores necessarily, but Greg Newsome was in no man's land trying to half play him and half play the receiver. And you got other late help coming over. So that was a big play. But the most credit goes to those safeties. Neither one is drafted. D'Anthony Bell, second-year guy out of West Florida, that football.
Argonauts, baby. Argonauts.
Ronnie Hickman obviously played a ton of football at Ohio State, but undrafted. So those guys get a ton of credit. Ephraim Banda, the safeties coach, deserves a ton of credit. They were down their top three safeties, and you wouldn't have known it from watching the game.
Nope.
I give them credit for understanding who D'Anthony Bell is and letting him do it. He's not a guy who's, gonna thrive on the back end. He's great at sort of being that slot box player that just plays with his hair on fire and is physical. He's got a big, long wingspan, was able to keep guys out of his body, and he was not afraid. Like, he plays with the same tenacity he does on special teams, which is how he got the spot on the team in the first place. And then Hickman, watching him at Ohio State, when he was able to basically watch the ball, keep everything in front of him and play downhill, he was an impact player. He could get downhill, make plays on the ball, got some interceptions doing that. And then whether he was tackling or being able to then scrape down the line and make tackles, like, he really thrived there. He struggled when opponents were able to get him to sort of flip his hips and play with his back to the ball. To this point, through 2 games, NFL, the Bears and the Jaguars have not been able to get him in a position where he's uncomfortable. And it's noteworthy that 2 NFL offenses were not able to punish the Browns for having no experience at safety and make them regret having it. There was no point where you're going, well, that's what happens when you have super young safeties. Yes, D'Anthony Bell gave up some passes to Evan Ingram because he's Evan Ingram, who's a really good player. But D'Anthony Bell is a really good tackler and, limited the damage immediately by being able to short circuit those plays. So, look, is it sustainable? Who knows? But they got 2 wins. Like, you're going to sit there and you go, I'll take the 2 wins and we'll move on to the next one and see what happens. Again, same mentality they have with everything else. 1-0 every week. Maybe they run into problems with the Houston Texans. Difficult to say, but what you're seeing right now is promising, not only for right now, but in a 2024 where hopefully everybody's healthy, knock on wood. And now these guys just have a ton of experience where if they need to come in and play, they're ready to do it. And they have, they've earned these roles. They've earned this respect and they have the confidence to play. And now your roster just looks that much better.
And look, there is the possibility Juan Thornhill comes back this week. And, for the secondary, over the last 2 weeks, the cornerback position, you've gotten Denzel back, you've gotten Cameron Mitchell back. So you were back to your 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looked really, really good. So yes, look, a lot of guys are exiting, but the Browns are also starting to get some guys either come back in the door or soon to come back in the door, which should certainly aid this defense as it continues to roll on here. We're going to close it out here. And, I know you guys all see the board, but, we might have something a little different we're going to go to here. Segment 3, Jeff Lloyd, OBR's Pete Smith. Everybody stick on around. Stay right where you at. Look, it's the holidays. And look, I got teenage daughters and, we're close, all that stuff. But you ask any teenager what they want. You hungry? Yeah. What do you want? I don't know. You ask them anything they need. They never have an answer for you. But so you know what? Buying Christmas presents, I know concert tickets will always work. So that's where Gametime comes in. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can get things from Gametime like last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. Heck, they even got job loss protection. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. There is no hidden fees. Everything is laid out for you up front. You agree. You buy your tickets in seconds, 2 taps, and you are set to go. With zone deals, you pick the section and Gametime picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Your latest Locked On Browns, your host, Jeff Floyd, joined by Pete Smith. I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen. If you're not part of the everyday crowd, look, I can't stress it enough. You don't need money. You don't need nothing. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. You are in. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Pete, so much talk, and even with Myles getting healthier and the effectiveness there over the last couple of weeks, production's not there. You know, so much talk of defensive player of the year. You just little thing on social media, and maybe we're not setting the bar high enough. Is there, and look, and this is a team that's had significant losses, QB1, running back 1, numerous other players. And here they are, like the little engine that could, blinders on, just going about their business each and every week. But the one standout for almost all of this year has been number 95. Maybe defensive player of the year ain't enough. Maybe he deserves legitimate consideration as far as being the MVP of the NFL in 2023.
Yeah, he should absolutely be in the conversation. He is a franchise quarterback level impact on defense. If you take him off, we've seen this. When he's not on the field on defense, they are not the number one defense. It's immediately apparent how much he matters to them, how much of an impact he makes. Kevin Stefanski obviously this week is sort of taking to the soapbox to say, look at the impact he makes on run plays and some of the stuff he makes, pointing out a particular play from the Bears game, which was pretty damn good. He is that guy, like JJ Watt level talent, and JJ Watt got a handful of Defensive Player of the Year awards, but certainly had a case to be an MVP in a particularly in a year where there's no runaway guy. I mean, you're sitting there arguing to which 49er who lost to the Browns defense should get the MVP versus a receiver who's currently hurt. Maybe there's some other guys, maybe Lamar Jackson also lost to Myles Garrett and the Browns. It has an argument, but Myles Garrett should absolutely be in that conversation. No one is talking about anyone on this team other than, it's a great story. Joe Flacco is doing stuff and they signed Kareem Hunt back to the team. But none of that matters if they don't have Myles Garrett. This team goes as far as he is able to carry them along with the rest of this defense, but he's the guy who is lifting that defense to be so good. I think there's a world where Myles Garrett will be the only player on this defense who's either all pro or Pro Bowl. That doesn't mean there aren't good players on the Browns defense. You can certainly look at Denzel Ward, but he's been hurt. You can look at Martin Emerson. I don't know if the league is ready for him to be that guy yet. JOK certainly had a good season, but you look across the board, they have some good players, but if he's the only guy who's going to get something on that side of the ball, I mean, the Browns may only have a couple Pro Bowlers on the entire team. Garrett, Dustin Hopkins, maybe Njoku and Amari Cooper, but that would be a pretty sad state of affairs to be this good. Somebody has to be carrying this thing, and it's Garrett.
No question. And we got some major Cleveland Browns news. Tommy Togiai has been signed off the practice squad and is off to the Atlanta Falcons. So
good for him.
Tongue in cheek. Look, go play some ball, Tommy Togiai. Because, there's no way you're going to make any verdict on Tommy Togiai without actually, getting some time on the field here. But Pete, 4 miles, it's not that far-fetched because he is the one thing when you look at, hey, Watson, Walker, TTR, Walker, Flacco, losing Nick Chubb, obviously Jerome Ford, there's been moments. Kareem Hunt, his role has been steady. But with no 95, this team is literally a boat crashed up on a jetty somewhere.
No question. It's difficult to, again, it's the one guy you can associate this team with right now. Like, you know, you always do the thing of a primetime game or whatever. They always show the picture. Take Myles Garrett off that. Who are you putting on? Is it Flacco? I mean, he's been here 20 minutes. Like, he is this team. In exact same way J.J. Watt was for the Houston Texans during his prime.
And luckily for, obviously, Myles Garrett, this team is in a successful spot right now. And Myles Garrett be the first one to tell you, I don't want any of these accolades. I want to hopefully have a long, sustained run in January because Myles Garrett is intelligent enough to understand that where the ultimate legacies in the NFL are built. He is Pete Smith, obviously now with the OBR. Pete, Jake Burns, everybody else over there, they were doing a fantastic job just pumping out content each and every day. It was, when Pete became available, obviously from his previous job, and there was a possibility of him going there, I knew it was going to be a perfect scenario for everybody involved, and it's worked out very well. So make sure you're checking out the OBR, getting everything over there. Obviously, Browns Bites, the podcast, Pete and Bree still do excellent. You get 100% of Pete, you get 100% of Bree. It's a lot for everybody, but it's a great thing for everybody as well. Make sure you're following at _Pete Smith _ myself, Jeff Lloyd. You guys know I've been here 7 seasons. I'll be here another 7, if not 70, good Lord willing. Appreciate all of you who make the show your first listen every single day. If you are not part of the everyday team yet, look, just simple. Subscribe. Just hit the button. Locked On Browns YouTube channel. You're taken care of there. Show is always available, always free wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow we'll get you to the crossover episode as we are 100% in the Houston Texans week, and we'll see the way the week unfolds for Houston. Obviously, a lot of injuries there. I'm sure everybody, of course, Cleveland Browns fans usually associated very well with being Ohio State fans. Whether or not CJ Stroud will be a part of that game's festivities, we'll start to delve into that tomorrow. Make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports 247 on YouTube, running all our shows 24/7. So make sure you're checking that out as well. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.